11 golden age stars who aged terribly. Number 7 is unreal. The bright lights of Hollywood's golden age turn ordinary people into gods and goddesses. Beautiful, immortal, untouchable. But time doesn't care about star power. In fact, sometimes fame accelerates the aging process in ways that shock even the most devoted fans. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on 11 legendary stars whose final years were almost unrecognizable from their glory days. Some aged decades in just a few years. Others made desperate attempts to hold on to youth that backfired terribly. And one number 7 underwent a transformation so shocking and heartbreaking that witnesses couldn't believe their eyes. These weren't just normal aging processes. These were cautionary tales written across once perfect faces. You've seen their classic films. You've admired their talent and beauty. But what happens when the cameras stop rolling and the unforgiving march of time takes over? What price did these icons pay for their years in the spotlight? And could their stories actually help us understand our own relationship with aging and mortality? Let's find out as we examine the shocking twilight years of Hollywood's brightest stars. Well, goodbye everybody. Don't worry about me. I might have gotten in a lot of complications in my life, but that was when I was just practically a kid. Now I see everything much clearer now. 1. Mickey Rooney. From boy wonder to weathered veteran, Mickey Rooney began his career as America's favorite teenager. Those bright eyes, that boundless energy, that boyish charm. For millions, he was the perfect embodiment of youthful exuberance. Films like Boy Town and the Andy Hardy series made him Hollywood's top box office draw by the early 1940s. He was earning $150,000 per film, astronomical money at the time. But beneath that cheerful exterior, Rooney was living hard and fast. What few people realized was that behind those innocent roles, Mickey was burning the candle at both ends. While the public saw the clean-cut boy next door, Hollywood insiders witnessed his growing appetite for alcohol, gambling, and women. And it wouldn't take long for those excesses to catch up with him. By his early 50s, when many stars were still in their prime, Mickey Rooney looked decades older than his actual age. His face, once so animated and youthful, had become bloated and sagging. The sparkle in his eyes had dulled, replaced by the weary gaze of someone who had seen too much too soon. What happened? 8 failed marriages certainly didn't help. Each divorce drained him financially and emotionally. His gambling addiction left him bankrupt multiple times. But the real culprit was the unrelenting stress of trying to maintain stardom after his youthful appeal had faded. In one particularly heartbreaking television appearance in the 1970s, audiences gasped when Rooney walked on stage. The man who had once been America's teenager now looked like he could be his own grandfather. His skin hung loose, deeply creased with premature wrinkles. His once athletic frame had grown soft and rounded. The cruel irony, Mickey Rooney would live to the remarkable age of 93. But he spent over half his life looking far older than his actual years. From teenage heartthrob to grizzled grandpa in record time. There's a barrel of fish in the ocean. There's a lot of little birds in a blue and neither fish nor two. Betty Hutton, the blonde bombshell who vanished. In the 1940s, Betty Hutton lit up the screen with an incandescent energy that few could match. Known as the blonde bombshell, her performances in classics like The Miracle of Morgan's Creek and Annie Get Your Gun showcase her unique blend of comedy, singing, and dancing. Her face radiated a wholesome, all-American beauty. Those perfect features, that million-dollar smile, those expressive eyes that could convey joy one moment and heartbreak the next. But the same intensity that made Betty a star would eventually contribute to her downfall. Behind the scenes, she was battling severe depression and an addiction to prescription pills. The pressure to maintain her image and career pushed her to the breaking point. By the late 1950s, Betty's star had begun to fade, and so had her legendary looks. A series of personal and professional setbacks, failed marriages, career disappointments, financial problems took a devastating toll on her appearance. But the most shocking transformation came in the 1970s, after she had largely disappeared from public view when Betty resurfaced years later. Even dedicated fans had trouble recognizing her. Multiple nervous breakdowns had left visible marks on her once radiant face. A series of botched cosmetic procedures, desperate attempts to reclaim her youthful appearance, had actually accelerated her aging process. Her features, once so perfectly proportioned, now seemed distorted and unnatural. In one rare television interview from 1974, the camera caught Betty in harsh, unforgiving light. The contrast between this tired, strained-looking woman and the vibrant star of just 2 decades earlier was shocking. Her skin appeared paper, thin and tightly stretched. Her eyes, once so expressive, now seemed perpetually surprised. The unfortunate result of surgery that had gone too far. Most tragic of all was Betty's own awareness of her transformation. "I don't look in mirrors anymore," she confessed in one of her final interviews. "The person I see there isn't me. It's not the Betty people remember, and it's not the Betty I want to remember either. She didn't just age, she disappeared behind a mask, sensitive down to my fingertips. In fact, these fingers made me the best safecracker in Paris and a virtuoso among the pig." 3. Peter Lorre, the man who became his own shadow. Peter Lorre never fit the conventional Hollywood mold of good looks. With his round face, bulging eyes, and soft-spoken manner, he carved out a niche playing unsettling characters in films like M and Casablanca. But in his youth, there was still something compelling about his appearance, an intensity, a presence that commanded attention despite his small stature. As the years passed, however, Lorre's distinctive features began to morph into something genuinely disturbing. A combination of chronic health problems, morphine addiction, which began after a serious back injury, and heavy drinking accelerated his aging process at an alarming rate. By the 1960s, Lorre had become a shadow of himself, quite literally. His once round face had collapsed inward with sunken cheeks and dark hollows under his eyes that made him look skeletal. His naturally pale complexion had taken on a sickly, almost gray pallor, and those famous eyes, once merely unsettling, now seemed to bulge even more prominently from his thinning face, giving him the appearance of a man perpetually shocked or frightened. In his final film roles, makeup artists actually had to work to make him look healthier rather than more sinister. The transformation was so complete that when Vincent Price viewed Lorre's body at his funeral in 1964, he reportedly remarked, "He looks so much better dead than alive." It wasn't a cruel joke, but a sad observation on how much suffering had been etched into every line of Peter Lorre's face in his final years. Time didn't take him softly. It dragged him down. Music 4. Gloria Grahame. Beauty destroyed by her own hand. Gloria Grahame possessed one of the most distinctive faces of the 1950s film noir. With her pouty lips and sultry gaze, she embodied the femme fatale and classics like The Big Heat and In a Lonely Place. Her unique beauty won her millions of fans and an Academy Award for the Bad and the Beautiful. But Grahame harbored an obsession that would ultimately destroy her looks. She was fixated on her upper lip, convinced it was too thin. This seemingly minor insecurity would lead to one of Hollywood's most tragic beauty disasters. Beginning in the mid-1950s, Grahame underwent a series of procedures to plump her upper lip. But she didn't stop at conventional methods. According to Hollywood legend, she began stuffing cotton or tissue under her upper lip to make it appear fuller. Eventually, she turned to surgical options, having fat from other parts of her body injected into her lip. The results were disastrous. By the 1960s, Gloria's once subtle pout had been transformed into a permanently swollen, unnatural shape that distorted her entire face. The lip procedures left her with visible scarring and an asymmetrical appearance that makeup couldn't hide. What's worse, the tissue damage from these repeated interventions left her lip partially paralyzed. In her final film appearances, directors often shot her in shadow or from certain angles to minimize the visible damage. But in person, the transformation was shocking. Nicholas Ray, her former husband and director, reportedly didn't recognize her when they crossed paths years after their divorce. The ultimate irony. Film historians now celebrate Graham's original look as one of the most captivating in cinema history. Her desperate attempt to fix what wasn't broken resulted in permanently altering the very feature that had made her famous. The surgery was supposed to help. It did the opposite. That's a mistake that will be correct. 5. Orson Welles, the genius who expanded in all directions. In his youth, Orson Welles possessed a commanding presence. Tall, handsome, with piercing eyes and a resonant voice that could hold audiences spellbound. When he made Citizen Kane at the age of 25, he wasn't just a directorial genius. He was also a striking leading man with intense good looks and undeniable charisma. But as Welles aged, his appearance underwent one of Hollywood's most dramatic transformations. His weight gain became the stuff of legend. The trim, dashing figure who had terrified America with his War of the Worlds broadcast morphed into a man of truly Falstaffian proportions. By the